Sorry, I ran out of video time. But lying on your back, that amniotic fluid, fetus, extra blood, all of that in the uterus can put pressure on your spine and cut off oxygen and blood flow in your spine. And it can just be very painful and just uncomfortable. So it is recommended that you sleep on your side and lay on your side as you progress through the pregnancy. At your first doctor's visit, most of you will have already figured out your due date, just simple Google search. But I talked about with female reproductive health, one of the things that the doctors will ask you, it doesn't matter if you're going in for a strep throat test or just a general prenatal visit, one of the first things they're going to ask you is the first day of your last period. That just tells them where you are in your cycle and kind of where to progress. Then you're going to add 7 days. You add 7 days because the last period you had, you menstruated approximately 7 days. And then it's just easier to subtract 3 months than it is to add 9. That just kind of gives you a ballpark. So if you had February 12th was your last period, start of the first day of your last period, okay? So you add 7 days to get you to the 19th, and then you subtract the 3 months. So you subtract you subtract January, December, and then you end on that third month of November. Okay. Once again, if you Google my due date, they're going to ask you first day of your last period. And then Google does the plus 7 days and the minus 3 months for you. You do get a complete physical. That includes a pelvic exam and a pap smear. Your blood test will factor in things like, are you pregnant? Okay. But it will also check for things like anemia, which is a low iron level. And if you're not high enough in your iron, prenatal vitamins may pick that up, or you may need to go on another iron supplement. Iron makes your blood nice, thick, rich, and healthy. And when you're sharing blood with baby, they want to make sure you have appropriate iron levels. One of the side effects of anemia is being super tired and low energy. You're already low energy from, creating a human. So they don't want you to get super run down. RH factor is, so you would first identify your blood type. If you don't already know, this is when they'll identify your blood type. You could be either a positive or a negative blood type. So A, B, AB, O are the blood types. So you can be positive or negative. The thing with an RH factor is positive can receive positive and negative blood, but negative blood cannot receive positive blood. So if I am a negative blood type, but my significant other has a positive blood type, there's a good chance that my baby will have a positive blood type. And me being negative, that baby's blood type would poison me. So they can give you an RH factor shot to eliminate that poisoning process. Okay. But once again, positive can receive positive and negative. So then you don't need the shot, but they're going to determine that here. And then rubella is the German measles. It just has a lot of birth defects associated if you contract the German measles. Most of you have gotten this in your MMR vaccine, your measles, mumps, and your rubella, but they will ask you and check your immunizations for that. This is the first of your STI tests that I talked about. Once again, they want to eliminate any and all complications at this point. Pelvic exam, pap smear, blood test, and STI test will eliminate all of those complications and maybe give them a heads up. Hey, this could become a complication. Let's watch out for it. Or if it's something that can be treated, let's treat it now before it becomes a complication. And then that second blood test, that second STI test will happen in the 3rd trimester. Okay. During your regular visits during your pregnancy. Okay. So slides roughly 6 through 10 were all about the very first doctor's visit. This right here is about every visit moving forward. The rest of the visits really truly do go pretty quickly. In, out, do a couple things, and then you're done. First and foremost, when they call you back, they're going to weigh you. How much are you gaining? That could be indicators of other things. If you're not gaining enough weight, they might have to put you on some supplements, maybe change your diet regimen. If you have a lot of morning sickness, things like that. If you're gaining too much weight too quickly, it could be a sign of gestational diabetes, fluid retention, toxemia, lots of different things. So that just is an indicator. What's going on in your body? Blood pressure. These are things that you do when you go to a doctor for a strep throat. But blood pressure, really, truly, every time mom's heart rate, blood pressure, all of those things rise, babies do as well. So they really just want to make sure that they have everything under control. But blood pressure is, raised blood pressure is a sign of preeclampsia or toxemia, which I'll get to. And then urine sample. At your first visit, they'll give you a little container with a screw-on lid, and they'll tell you to bring in your first urine sample of the day. So when you get out of bed in the morning, they'll ask you to collect a portion of that urine sample, because as you sit your body in your bed at night sleeping, your body filters its system out. So a lot of your organs filtration system is present in your first urine of the day. And so that would give you an indication if there was protein in your urine. That's a sign, once again, of preeclampsia or toxemia, which I'll get to. Pus would be a sign of infection, and sugar would be a sign of gestational diabetes. Now, as you go through the day and you drink water or whatever you're drinking, it a lot of times will filter some of these blaring signs out. So that's why they want that first sample of the day. And then you just bring it in like in a brown bag, hand it to them. They do a swab of it, and then they dispose of it. Heartbeat. Every single doctor's visit, you'll listen to the heartbeat. At the very beginning, it's going to be a little sonogram machine that you can just hear. It's kind of like a whooshing sound. And then as you get larger, a basic stethoscope will pick it up. As the uterus puts more pressure on the abdomen and the organs, it'll just be a little bit easier to hear. And then measuring the growth of the uterus. So at the beginning, your uterus is down here just slightly above your pubic bone. With each kind of series of weeks, the uterus moves as it grows, as baby is taking up more space. It grows and it moves all the way kind of to the top of the abdomen, right under the breasts, right kind of under the diaphragm is where the top of the uterus will sit, okay, right along here, as you're in your last couple weeks. But they measure from the pubic bone to wherever the top of the uterus is, and each of these are just, once again, measurements. How is baby growing? Was there a chunk of weeks where they really, really took off? Or did you have like a stall out and baby hasn't grown the last couple doctor's visits? That might be something to look for as far as possible complications. Okay, now this is going to seem a little overwhelming. I do not cover everything that could go right or wrong in a pregnancy. What I just list are some of the basic kind of complications and some risk factors. So when we talk about risk factors, what are things that could cause you to have more doctor's visits, more ultrasounds, maybe just to kind of put you on a watch list? And the first of those is being over 35. And unfortunately, they call this a geriatric pregnancy. They used to call it an advanced maternal age pregnancy. And then about 10, 15 years ago, they changed it to geriatric, which I think is a horrible term. But really what it simply means is you're 35 or above. And as a female matures, we know that their body starts to shut down the maturing and or the releasing of the eggs. And as those eggs get older, they have a tendency to start to break up to be reabsorbed in the body, and premenopause can start. As those eggs start to kind of break up and be reabsorbed, you have a higher rate of birth defects if one of those eggs becomes fertilized. Okay. Under the age of 20 is considered a teen pregnancy. And really, truly, it's just that maybe that extra layer of fat hasn't been developed. Diet isn't the best. This is a lot of times in that risky sexual encounter, higher rate of STIs, maybe not the best decision-making chunk of your life, doing a little bit riskier behaviors. So that's what puts teens at risk. First and foremost, if the younger the teen, the less developed their body. So it can be harder on the moms and usually preterm labors. Okay. Chronic illness, anything you had before pregnancy can put you in that higher risk factor. If you're obese or underweight, once again, maybe watching to see that you need to gain more weight or keep you under. Multiples. With my twins, I had 11 ultrasounds, and I started to see the doctor every 2 weeks, right at about 4 months, and then every single week for the last almost 3 months. There's lots of things called twin-to-twin transfusion, where one twin can take more nutrients than the other. Your uterus and placenta can kind of divide up. It's all sorts of crazy things. And truly, you run out of space with one, you definitely run out of space with two. If you have a history of pregnancy loss, now, miscarriage typically happens in the first trimester. It's called pregnancy loss when it's in the second or third trimester. Okay, if you've had multiple miscarriages or pregnancy loss, that's something they're going to watch for. If you had a C-section or a preterm delivery, that's something they're going to watch for, just for the health of the uterus, the strength of the uterus. Might put you on bed rest a little early. And then once again, if that blood work comes back at any point where it is at risk, needs treatment, those types of things. And then this is just on average, average age. It kind of becomes cyclical. In the 70s, it was average age of 21. 2008, it was 25. Now it's nearly 30. And eventually it will kind of come back around to being young parents again. It all comes back around. It's cyclical.